Hi there, it's Sewa, and welcome to another conversation with a female founder who's created a unique blueprint for business success. Today's conversation is with Kierra Castleberry. Have you ever wondered how people have Airbnb portfolios with 20 and 30 properties in there? Well, today, Kierra, who is a coach for Airbnb hosts, is going to give us a behind the scenes, step by step look into how you can build your own Airbnb business. So, if this is something that interests you, if you want to learn how you would pick a property, market it, find a cleaning service to partner with, and then grow it to the point where you can have corporate partners, keep on watching.
Kierra Castleberry, welcome to She's Off Script. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. How are you?
So, for any of our listeners who haven't heard of you, could you share who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Kierra. I'm a high-level Airbnb coach and host, and a new Turo host. I always like to throw that out because Turo is like the Airbnb for cars. But I started Airbnb real quick in like March 2019, and since then it's been part of my identity. So I love it so much.
So, how did you get started in the whole short-term rental business?
Honestly, I had a friend and she was posting that she made, I want to say it was the year that the Super Bowl was in Atlanta, and she had made almost $100,000 by March in just Airbnb. And I'm like, hold on, girl, what are you doing? Like, how do you get into Airbnb? Like, show me how to get into it. Because in the beginning, it was for the money. Okay. I'm like, girl, show me how to make the coin. She kind of just walked me through how to get started, how to find the apartments, how to talk to them, how to like just all that little stuff that you wouldn't think to ask someone.
Mhm.
And from there was history. We got our first apartment because we did rental arbitrage, which is basically where you acquire someone else's property and you Airbnb it. Completely legal. That's the one question I always get is it legal? It is legal. Well, just check your state laws and your city laws, but it's legal. And from there, it was history.
Ooh, well, I definitely want to dive more into rental arbitrage because I
Okay.
keep hearing about how many properties people have in their portfolios, and I'm just like, how? But before that, let's address probably one of the bigger questions on people's minds right now is this a safe slash profitable business to enter right now, just given all the pressures of the pandemic?
Y- yes. And the thing is, what's so crazy is I look at people's profiles. I'll have people come to me and say, "Hey, I'm not getting booked," or, during the pandemic, things are going slower. But then I look at their profiles and I'm like, I would never stay here. I would never stay here, even if it was the last thing on earth. I think it's all about how you position yourself and what experience are you providing. Because let's be real, people are still going out. My clients, I mean, they're booked out till summer. I just got to tell you about one client who's booked out till April. That's one example. I have one booked out to July. It's all about how you position yourself. I have my draped formula, which is my draped B&B listing formula, and it basically stands for description and title, ratings and reviews, amenities, profile and photos, the experience you provide, which is the most important one, and then the dynamic pricing. Once you have all of those together, like that's literally everything you need, you're good to go. You will get the bookings. You will get you will be booked.
Okay, so walk us through that draped formula because it sounds like those are the fundamentals that you need in order to have a successful short-term rental business.
Really.
So walk us through it.
So with it, with the description and title, I always say make sure that you are speaking directly to your ideal guest. A lot of people miss that. You have to know who your ideal guest is before you even get to the drape. Because if not, you're gonna be speaking like what is the saying? When you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. It's so true for Airbnb. Are you speaking to families? Are you speaking to business owners? Who are you speaking to? Because the way you speak to families and what you provide for them is not the same as what you provide to business owners. I don't want a desk when I'm coming out of town with my family, but a business person may. So with the description title, real quick, I always say have two adjectives that describe your property and then your property's name. So one or two adjectives. So one of my clients, hers is the Cozy Cove ATL. Another one is the posh, luxurious adult getaway. What you do is you take that title, you find all of the synonyms to those adjectives and put them throughout your description so that the algorithm can kind of feel like, what kind of property is this? Who like if I'm looking for it, like how will I find it, you know?
So
And
Airbnb
then
has an algorithm as well.
oh yeah, I'm all about the Airbnb algorithm and
Wow.
SEO.
Now, are all your tips Airbnb specific, or would they apply to like the Verbos and I don't know what other ones are out there these days?
My clients have used it on Vrbo and they've done well, but I always say I'm specific to Airbnb. I know Airbnb. I don't want to speak on what I don't know either.
Hmm.
um, just because, like, why? It's just I understand Airbnb. It's my baby. I mean,
So
well, technically,
it's good to
but
be it's good to be clear and specific
yes,
about
yep,
what you're offering. So
exactly.
that's D. What's next?
Next is ratings and reviews, and Airbnb has 6 criteria. That have you ever visited an Airbnb?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, okay, yes.
Especially now, given the pandemic, we've done more than we have before.
Exactly. So when you visited, did they have you rate them? Did you end up rating them? Did
Yes.
you skip that part? Okay, okay. And then when you're rating them, like, what were you thinking about? Like, how were you thinking? What were you? Yeah, just what was your mind? Like, what was your thought process?
I definitely wanted to help the next person and answer questions that I had that were not in the description.
Mm,
So as far as confirming cleanliness, I think that's a big thing right now is I want to go to an actually clean place. Um, and then also giving them a better idea of the amenities that people can expect. Because I don't know that we stayed at one Airbnb and I don't think they did a great job of tooting their own horn because it
oh
was a
God.
fantastic
Wow.
property. They had so many amenities, but
Yeah.
the pictures didn't do them justice, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So basically, everything you just said wraps up ratings and reviews. You have to basically you have to communicate with your guests. The fact that you had to say, "Oh, I had to verify cleanliness." Why hasn't the host verified cleanliness to you in their description and in their photos? I mean, yes and no, but your reviews should say it looked exactly like the photos. It looked like it was exactly as described. That's what you want. And if I don't know if you've like visited like their like other people's ratings, but when you look through them, the top rated Airbnbs, that's really all of their comments. If it varies, it's probably because someone's missing something. Um, Fun fact, when I started, actually till this day, I only have 5 stars on all the criteria. Most people don't. But again, I figured out how to speak to everyone and how to, well, not everyone, but how to make sure every single thing in the review, the ratings were addressed in that six ratings criteria. But
Mm,
also, you won't be left asking questions because I want to know where I'm staying. I want to know who's hosting me. I want to know it all because you're a stranger to me.
right.
So that's so important. So that's on ratings and reviews. Amenities, super simple. I always say on your landing page, your Airbnb's landing page, so the one where people click on and they scroll, as long as there are no amenities crossed out on page one, you are good. Because what happens is there's a reason that Airbnb may have it crossed out or whatever it may be. So add that amenity. So, well, you can't always add all amenities, but for example, a carbon monoxide is the most popular one that's crossed out on people's profiles. I always say go to Target, go to Walmart, get one for $15 and plug it in. Because the thing is, guests might not know what a carbon monoxide detector is, but it sounds important and they might feel like they're missing out on something. Even if you have an electric stove, you don't know what guests do, have one.
Hmm.
And then next is the profile and photos. I always suggest making sure that like your face is literally in the photo because a lot of people do have it far away where you don't even see the person, you just see their background. Again, I want to know who like who's hosting me. I want to see your face. You're a stranger. I'm staying in a stranger's house. I don't know anything about you. Show me your face.
Hmm.
And then for the photos, I always say your first 5 photos need to be the best because when you're scrolling through Airbnb, and you're like looking through the photos a couple of times. Yeah, I don't like it. Scroll to the next one. Scroll.
Hmm.
So that's why I say your first 5 photos need to be the best ones out your photo shoot. I don't care if it's the kitchen, the attic. I don't care, but those need to be in the front, and then do best to worst, but in like an order. So start with the living room or the outside, then the living room, and then the what do you call it? Well, like just like the whole house, and make sure
Hmm.
it's best to worst for each room. And then and the cover photo needs to be the best on your profile. My best one is usually always the kitchen, so that's the one people see first, and that's why people click on it. And then finally on that, I always tell people too, make sure that you're not just taking pictures of your Airbnb just to upload and getting a professional photographer later, because the algorithm doesn't like it won't help you. The algorithm is the people. We are the algorithm. We're the one who decides what happens. If your cover photo is ugly and it's not catchy and it's not professional, I'm just gonna scroll to the next one because Airbnb actually gives you a time period where your Airbnb is at the top, and it's like
Mhm.
you ever see the new ones? It's
Mhm.
at the top, and you want yours to be at the top, and it's not gonna be at the top. It's not gonna remain on like the first few pages if people aren't clicking through on it when you first create your listing.
So I know
Then once
people always say just start, but it sounds like this is not an instance you want
I
to just
don't recommend
start.
it. I don't recommend it. I really don't. And then like you want to stand out from the very beginning, you know?
Mhm.
But then that goes on to experiences you provide, standing out. What makes you different? Have you seen the tree house in Atlanta that everyone's going to, the Airbnb?
No,
It's
no.
like a big deal. It's like it's one tree house. It's like they're booked out for like a year. And they have
I
like
need
a
to look
bed.
them up.
It's so cool. It's like they have like a bed and it like hangs out of like the tree house, but it's like really cool. You're like, "I can sleep in my
Like,
kids
do I
there."
want to sleep hanging out of a tree? I don't
I
know.
know. Literally. But like it's an experience, so that's why they're booked out. Even I don't know if you've seen the Airbnb. It's like a big house and it's like Monopoly themed and like can it's like one room is candy what is it?
Candyland. No,
Candyland and
Candyland
then
is a different game entirely, though.
yeah, it's like different themes throughout the house of
Oh,
different board games. Even the living room is like a chess game, but like it's very specific. Even the light switches are like I want to say in the Monopoly room, they're like pieces.
wow.
Like it's different. They're booked out because they are different. It's all about the experience you provide. If you don't have the money, go buy some boards from Home Depot, create like a little uh photo booth, put some stuff in there and call yourself unique. But you have to stand out because long are the days where or long gone are the days where people throw furniture in a place and call it an Airbnb. Can't just do that anymore. And
So,
then
in
finally,
order to get that aesthetic, are you working with designers or is this something that these people are just skilled at?
oh, actually, okay, from my experience, I've noticed that it's usually I would say it's usually both, honestly. But you also have to look at, what do you like to do? Me, I like to read. So in our first Airbnb, we had a reading nook, but we didn't show it in the pictures. You wouldn't know it was there until you got there. But we also know our audience too, and they like that kind of stuff. So they loved the little reading nook. It was always used. You could tell people sat there. It doesn't have to be that big. It just has to be different.
Mm.
And then finally, that dynamic pricing is the most important part. Well, actually, all of them are important, but if you're not priced right, you're gonna be screwed because, okay, I'm a couponer, right?
Mhm.
And I always want the best product for the cheapest amount. So I'm gonna find that best product for the cheapest amount. Same goes for Airbnb. If someone's looking for the best Airbnb at the cheapest price, they're gonna be like me, a couponer. But I don't complain, but there are people who complain. So if you're priced too low, for example, you're gonna get bad guests. If you're priced too high, you won't have any guests at all. So it's so important that you dynamically price your property correctly so you can get guests throughout the month.
Is
Um,
this a tool or a plugin or an app that you're
yeah,
using?
yeah. So Airbnb has their smart tool, but no one uses it. They don't. I'm just being honest. They undervalue your property.
Mm.
I know the most popular one right now is Price Labs. I personally, I started with Will House, but then our Airbnb became so popular. It was like first on the like it was third down on the first page, and we couldn't really go with their pricing model because we were getting booked so much. So we had to increase our pricing, and even then we were still getting booked out. We started with like $77 a night, and then we had to increase it to like 150, 170. And
Mm.
so we couldn't use the pricing models, but if you are an average Airbnb, Price Labs is great, Will House is great. Um, AirDNA is like semi okay. It tells you how you'll do seasonally,
Got
but
it. Got
yeah.
it. So at this point, I
Mhm.
think you had mentioned that you've had a first property, now you've moved on to the next. And I hear people talking about having properties all over the country, all over the world, multiple properties. First of all, how are they doing that? Is it that they are renting? You talked about rental arbitrage, or are they purchasing all these properties?
That's a great question. So what are the strategies that you've heard of?
None. I'm learning from you. So I've stayed with
Right.
them, know nothing about the business. So
Got you. So there are a couple of strategies, not a couple, there's a lot. I'm only gonna speak on the ones I'm good at though. But there's rental arbitrage, which is where you approach a homeowner or an apartment complex, and you let them know you want to do corporate rentals, corporate leases, short-term renting, and you get corporate leases there. You have to have an LLC or some kind of business entity. It doesn't have to be an LLC, but an LLC protects you to a certain extent. So there's rental arbitrage. There's the BRRRR method, which is super popular, the BRRR, or however many R's there are. And that's basically where you like buy a house, renovate it, rent it out, refinance, and then I forgot the last R. But that's also another part, but that's more capital up front. Rental arbitrage is probably you probably have to. I would say there isn't much capital up front as there would be for like a BRRRR property because you're literally like getting a house ready for Airbnb. But rental arbitrage, you're honestly just paying for the furniture and like the systems you need to get started. Then if you want to get an Airbnb and you're like zero money, I don't have the money, whatever the case may be, then there's co-hosting and like property managing. And with the name, you're literally co-hosting for someone else. They bought the property, they bought everything, they have the furniture, and all you're doing is hopping in and taking over for them for, well, not for free, but you're for a price, but you don't have to pay anything. You're getting paid. And then what else? There's so many. I just actually heard on Clubhouse the other day, someone actually uses timeshares. He like approaches timeshare peeps who already have timeshares, and I guess if they can't pay it or they're having trouble paying or they're trying to sell it, he hops in and says, "Hey, it's furnished, and when my guests get here, I don't have to deal with them because the front office deals with them. I'll do all your property management for you, and you'll just get a check at the end of the month plus your." Right? Like,
Wow, that's very
uh-huh.
creative.
No, I'm like, why did I think of that?
So you mentioned systems,
Mhm.
and for the people I've heard have multiple properties all over, clearly they're not there in person. And if there's a front desk, that's helpful. But what systems do you have in place, and what does a team look like when you're trying to
Mm.
really have that 5-star Airbnb experience?
I always say the system that you need to have is the system for the guest. Like, not even for you. Well, yeah, for you, but it has to just be, it has to, the guest has to be comfortable. They have to understand how to get there to your property, how to leave, all that. They need to understand everything. So you have to think about your customer and your guests when you're creating systems. It may sound backwards because a lot of people create systems based off the things they think they need. No, what does your guest need? You need to have a messaging system, some kind of messaging system. I use my 5-star messaging system. It's basically where uh, I message people only 5 times because have you ever been to an Airbnb and you feel like they message you too much?
No, not really.
Okay,
I,
good.
I think last time we went to, I think they had like when you booked,
Uh-huh.
right? Like the day before, maybe one while I was there and one after I left, something like that.
Exactly, and
Mhm.
that's the system I use. So, as soon as you book, I say, "Hey, how you doing? Sounds like a great fit. What brings you to town?" And then I message. Oh, and then in I message, I always say, "By the way, stay on the lookout. 48 hours, you will have all the check-in information." I say that because you'll have people asking, but if you send that, you will not. Well, you'll have 1 or 2 Bettys, but after that message, then it's like you said, 48 hours, and that's where you send all the check-in information. What do they need to do? Where do they go? Parking, all those questions that your guests would have all those in there. 3 hours ahead, I always just say, "Hey, is everything good? Were you able to figure out everything? Are you going to be good for check-in? Because check-in is one of those 6 criteria. So I always make
Mhm.
sure they're good. And then halfway through this day, I always say, "Hey, is everything okay? Do you guys need anything? You need some towels, toilet paper? Let me know. I'm here for you." And then finally, an hour before or after they leave, usually if they leave earlier than checkout time, then I'll send it then.
Mhm.
But if they leave at like exactly at checkout, then I'll send it an hour after so they can like get out and stuff. And kind of sit down, settle, drive, get on the plane, whatever that the case may be. And that one basically says, "Hey, thank you for staying. Airbnb, Airbnb is built off of trust. We'd love you to take 90 seconds to write a 5-star review. Let us know what you think, and go from there. But if you want them to write a 5-star review, you have to give a 5-star experience. So
Mhm. That's true.
that's true,
So what system is sending these automated messages for you? What tool is sending them?
There's a couple. I know Hostfully is one, Hostfully. There's also there are a couple. I personally do everything by hand, and then I have people helping me because I had a really bad experience with an Airbnb where they literally messaged me like 6 different times telling me about checkout, and it got annoying because I checked out at 2 a.m. Before I told them before I checked out, or no, before we even got there, "Hey, by the way, we're leaving at 2 a.m. We have to drive back to Texas." Cool. Let them know again, just one more. Well, actually, we let them know 2 when we booked, so that's 2 times.
Hmm.
And then they texted us or I let them know that we left about 2 a.m. No one's checking their phone, which is fine. And then at 6 a.m. we get a message, "Hey, don't forget to check out." We're like, "Oh, we already did." Get another message at 9 a.m. Checkouts in 2 hours.
So
We
they're
already
all
checked out.
automated.
Yes, and then again at 11 a.m. we got a message, "Hey, it's checkout time." We already checked out. Like I let them know so many times, and it got so annoying to the point where I just didn't even leave them a review.
Mm.
Um, and it just felt like I was a number. I didn't feel like I had an experience. So you have to put yourself in the same shoes. That's why I don't personally use like specific systems. If I do, we are monitoring to make sure that if people ask a question, it's getting answered. That's another thing. I sent their little number like questions and never got responses. Um,
So they were
yes,
just relying heavily on their automation and forgot to actually check in with the people.
exactly.
Mm.
I
What
never.
about
Yeah.
what about cleaning? I know that is a huge concern for people right now. So what systems do you have in place just to make sure the places stay clean?
So your cleaners are the backbones of your business. I hear Alexia say that all the time, and it's so true. Alexia, right? She's amazing. But it's so true. Without your cleaners, your property is trash. If your cleaners aren't making sure that the pictures, like your listing looks like the pictures, you're screwed. Because again, you want to be that Airbnb where everyone's saying, "It looks exactly like the pictures. It looks exactly like the pictures. It looks it." So
Hmm.
with cleaning, um, I always work with military wives for cleaners because I was a military wife myself. I know how hard it is to get a job in different cities. Plus, we move so much, so no one wants to hire you. So, a lot of Airbnb or a lot of Airbnb hosts, a lot of military wives have cleaning businesses,
Oh.
and babysitting businesses. So, with the cleaning businesses, they just want to get away from their kids. Like this is what my friends have told me. I just want to get away from my kids. I'll take any job, honestly, honestly. So not to say like that's a bad thing, but they care
No,
about
they
what
just need time away.
therapeutic. Exactly, it's therapeutic for them, and they're great at what they do. Every military wife I know who is a cleaner has been amazing, and that's another thing with military cleaners, military wife cleaners. They care about their business and they care about their image, so they're not gonna screw you over. And then also, we also take care of each other, we look out for each other, so when we do make recommendations, when we are in these Facebook groups and stuff for military wives, we make sure we already know this person because we gotta look out for one another, we wanna make sure they're not fraudulent or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
Um, but with cleaning though, I always say, I know people say, "Oh, just have them take a picture, have your cleaners take a picture when they're done and upload it to a drive." I don't agree with that because I know myself and I know that after 4 or 5 cleans, if I already know the routine, I'm just gonna clean it however I think it's supposed to be clean and might forget a couple of things and take pictures, and I may forget something. So what I say instead, and this is actually never mind, I'll get to that part. Instead, you should have your cleaners record a video of your property and have them kind of talk out what they did. So, okay, so right here you can see, or okay, right here what is it called? I unloaded the dishwasher, I put everything up. Right here, I put the pillows exactly like the pictures. Right here, I put all the stuff up. The maid's closet's locked. Just like talking it out so that if they do
Mhm.
forget anything, they'll stop that video and start over. Honestly, and then having a checklist for them is great too, so that they can go through that and record that video to make sure they're not missing anything. Have them upload to a drive. You don't have to necessarily watch the video, but you get guests who complain about cleanliness. And if you have that video as proof that your cleaner did this, and that, and there's like, "Oh, this was dirty," or "There was this stain," or whatever, you have proof in the video that there was not.
That's
So it
smart.
protects you.
That's smart.
Mhm.
So it sounds like you have figured out everything as far as how to run a business smoothly. What does growing an Airbnb business look like?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So, I would say growing an Airbnb business definitely takes a team. I don't think you can do it alone. I'm being
Mhm.
100% honest with you. So I would say, well, I actually learned this from my coach. For every 20 Airbnbs that you reach, or for every 20 properties you reach out to, you should get at least 3 responses. And with those 3 responses, you should get at least one Airbnb. So if you're reaching out to 20 Airbnbs per day, or you have a VA reaching out to 20 properties per day, whether that's apartments, landlords, homeowners, whoever that may be, as long as you're reaching out to 20 per day, within the next month, you should have at least one. So if you want to scale, you kind of have to rank up. But here's the thing: when you do go to like these apartments and stuff, and say you have a couple of Airbnbs with like private owners, I always say start off with private owners because they're the easiest to work with, and they don't ask for, yeah, they don't want you so like they don't want all that. They just want their mortgage, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So once you have like 3 or 4 there, then you can start talking to the apartments and the big guys, and get the big corporate leases and get 5 units here, 3 units there, 10 units there, because they see that your business model already works. So if you want to scale up, you need to have proof that your business model works, and then you'll be able to scale up. With the apartments, with the businesses, you can contact big businesses, and like big businesses like corporate entities, like
Hmm.
the big four accounting firms, the Goldman Sachs, like all those places,
Hmm.
and you can create deals with them so that when their employees come to town, they're calling you. So that's why it would be good to
Mm.
have a couple of units here, a couple of units there.
So once you've scaled to that level, are you hiring a property manager to help you manage all this, or are you still doing it by yourself?
Probably. I've never heard of anyone who hasn't, and it's because there's only one of us. I would say for one person, you could probably manage like 3, 4 pushing it, because there's cleaning, then there is managing guests and all of that.
Hmm.
But I truly, honestly, 100% believe that you should hire out and work on your business instead of inside of it. Once you get the hang of it, once you've done Airbnb, then hire out. But don't hire out in the beginning. Make sure you understand what Airbnb entails. Make sure you understand cleanings. Make sure you understand what guests want, why guests get mad. Make sure you understand all of that for your
Right.
specific property before you hire out.
That's smart. And
Yeah.
then you talked about making sure your business model works. What does marketing look like
Ooh,
for
Airbnb.
Airbnbs?
I always recommend Instagram, creating an Instagram for your Airbnb. So a lot of my clients already have Instagrams for their Airbnbs. So cute. And they literally get bookings from Instagram. So followers to bookings, and literally like people book from their pages. Uh, and that's a marketing platform.
How often are they posting on Instagram?
I always recommend 2 to 3 times a week. But what I realize is a lot of hosts have imposter syndrome, so they post multiple times a day, just to show that they're legit, but you really don't need to. Like, just post, a good picture here and there, and you're good to go. But I would say just 2 to 3 times a week, like the normal average business.
All right. So Airbnb as a platform itself on
Mhm.
Instagram, any other marketing avenues?
Pinterest is coming up. Pinterest is coming up. My ad specialist, Taylor, she told me about Pinterest. Apparently people actually book travel through Pinterest. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, so and then Pinterest is actually out of all the platforms, if I'm don't quote me on this, but they have like what is the word when it's basically the longevity of each post is like way longer. Because like a
Hmm.
recipe that was posted 7 years ago, I might still use that today.
Exactly.
Versus on
That post is
Instagram, I'm not
longer,
scrolling that
right?
far. Mhm.
Ah,
Exactly. And then what are some others? VRBO, HomeAway, they're just like Airbnb, but they're older. They're more curated toward people who are going on vacations, families on vacation. What other platforms? Expedia, TripAdvisor, Booking.com. These are also kind of expensive though. Those are kind of expensive to get on, but
when you
they're
say expensive, is it that their cut of your
yeah.
thing is higher? What's
Mhm.
the average range?
I've seen they get high. I can't. I just know that I'm okay with Airbnb because they're only charging me 3% per
3%
booking.
is very good.
Really good. And then another thing too is a lot of people do. They have their own direct booking sites. That's probably the best one because you don't all the income's going to you. So if you are doing good organically on Instagram, well, not organically because they're technically marketing for you, but if you're getting booked out, there's a high chance that if you do run ads and you have a professional doing the ads for you, that you'll get booked through your website, through your direct booking link.
That's super next level then. If
Yeah.
you really know how to get the traffic, then you can sidestep Airbnb altogether.
And getting the traffic, I always say this, you have to know who you're talking to. So let's build out a customer real quick. So let's say we are let's say you. So you are a mother.
Hmm.
When you're traveling, what are you looking for in a property?
Safety first. So
Okay.
cleanliness, space for the kids.
Mhm.
Um, of course, we're traveling to somewhere that we can have activities for them. So, what are we in close proximity to? Um, I would say those are the top things. Of course, I
Okay.
want a beautiful space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Right, right. I love that. And okay, so we're looking at your profile. We're building an Airbnb specifically for you and mothers like you.
mhm.
What kinds of things do we need to talk about in our description? Safety ratings. What are walkability? Like what is it? It's called a walk score. What
Mhm.
are walk scores? What's in the area and how far in minutes are they from the property? Do I have parking? Because as a mother, I'm sure you're like you don't want to be taking Ubers with your kids. You're
Nope,
probably
big
gonna
SUV.
exactly. Exactly. Is there free parking? If there's not free parking, I need a detailed description on how parking works because I don't have time to be getting my kids out to get like it. I just don't have the time.
Mhm.
So in the description, you need to make sure that you are enlisting all of these things. All of that. Plus, I always say too, in your first 5 photos, take them through an experience that speaks to all of those points.
Mm.
But you can go look at the top Airbnbs in any city. Their first 5 photos represent what their reviews are saying.
Got it. And they represent what their ideal guest is
Yes,
looking for. Got
literally.
it.
So, for example, I saw a property, well, there's so many examples, but I saw a property that was like great for kids, great space, lots of space, in a great area, great for kids, like all those kind of comments. First
Mhm.
5 pictures, literally a spacious living room and dining room, like an open layout, a picture of the backyard. Oh, there are dog comments too. A picture of the yard that was huge for dogs.
Mhm.
And I want to say they had also like high chairs in there too in the first 5 photos, just to show that it's family friendly. That's
Mhm.
another way you can avoid getting like the partiers too, is just making sure if you are family friendly, put it
Right.
in your first 5 photos. But really just curating. So, okay, some words. Let's talk about words, like legit words that you would use, right?
Mhm.
You mentioned safety, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna go on my phone really quickly. And I'm just gonna Google like synonyms to safety because I know there are so many synonyms to safety. Safety. So some synonyms would be welfare, well-being, protection, security. Those words need to be throughout your description somewhere. Somewhere,
Mhm.
somehow. They need to be, well, not all of them, but they need to be in your description. Another word you mentioned was basically around activity. So I would say, hmm, local. Mm, well, I don't know if that would be the word, but or I'll say location.
Mhm.
Location's important because you could go to a cabin in the woods and be okay.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
you know, so locale, spot, whereabouts, position, all those kind of words. Make sure that you're making it very clear to them in the description that we're near this, this, and that. This place is near here, here, here. Whereabouts. Like you just have to. I don't know how to explain it, but
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So, if at this point people are listening and they're thinking, this sounds doable, but I need a little bit of guidance.
Mhm.
How can they get in touch with you and how can they keep learning from you as they're on their Airbnb journey?
I love that. First off, I think watch this video again. If you just heard that question, watch this video again and take more notes before you even hop on to the next step. But after that, or listen to the podcast again. After that, what I would say is to go to my Instagram at Coach for the Host, COACH for the host. I have so much free like content there and just so many little tips that no one's going to tell you. Check out the free content. It's free.
If this conversation with Kierra has inspired you to launch a business, and it doesn't even have to be an Airbnb business, I'd like to invite you to join our membership community called Boss Off Script. This is a membership community that's going to give you the coaching that you need, expert masterclasses, and everything in between to get you from idea to launch and beyond. To get more information or to join, go to sewajpele.com/community. All right, on your way out, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next conversation. And if you would like to listen to the audio version of this podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, really anywhere podcasts are available. All right, we'll see you back here for the next conversation.